What's the difference between creating your brand and building your brand? The short answer is that in that creating your brand phase, that's when you're setting the direction that you want your brand to go in. And you typically do this through the system or the process of a brand strategy. And on the other hand, while you're building your brand, those are the things that you do every day in your business to actually bring your brand to life and have it walk the walk that you set forth. The building your brand part, that's the part that's a marathon. It does not stop ever. As long as you're in business, you're going to be building your brand. And that part is a series of decisions as well as consistency that's going to measure your brand or that's going to take your brand to the next level. Is this something that we could chop it up about today? Let's get it. Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Shanae Washington, your favorite creative brand strategist and the owner of Dream Forward Media. And welcome to the channel where we talk everything branding and making big concepts simple and digestible for the everyday entrepreneurs and industry experts that are looking to build their brand. Let's go. So, if you are not locked in with me, please hit the subscribe button because we're having these conversations every week and I want you to be here. I want you to be a part of it. So let's just get into it. Okay, as you heard in the intro, creating your brand versus building your brand. So I'm going to start with why I came up with that topic. I typically come across entrepreneurs who say that they want to create or build their brand, but they kind of don't have the full understanding of what it all entails. For example, I may come across somebody that says, "Hey, Shanae, I need help creating my brand." And I'm like, okay. A lot of the times they think that it's only revolving around the visuals, which is like logo, website, maybe some social media templates, stuff like that. And the funny thing is, every time I say y'all should know that your brand is more than your logo, there are several marketing and business channels out there or just voices out there that says this. And you would think that people would get tired of hearing it. I know I'm tired of hearing it. But people still think that the brand is solely focused around the visuals. So clearly it's not sinking in. It's like y'all hearing it, but you're not hearing it. But anyway, so that's the first part. And a lot of them don't really know like what a brand strategy is, which is supposed to help you create that substance. And your brand strategy should really focus on a few questions. Like it should answer a few questions. So the first question is, who am I? That's your brand identity. That's going to be your mission, your vision, your purpose. What are your long-term goals? Like that stuff, your values, those things are going to be in the who am I section of your brand strategy. The next part is, who am I talking to? Who are my people? Who is my tribe? And that's your target audience. That's probably the second most important part of your brand strategy is who you're talking to. If you're wondering what's the first, I'm going to get there. So defining who your target audience is, not just the demographics, but you want to get into the psyche, understanding in relation to how your product or service can help them. What are their fears? What are the questions that they're typing into Google? Who do they pay attention to? Who are they already following and seeking these solutions from? What are their initial thoughts about why they can't achieve whatever the transformation that they're seeking. Like, you have to really ask those questions. And when I say literally ask, I mean find your people and ask them those questions. That's typically the best research that you can do, is actually speaking to the people who you want to get in front of and just asking questions. The people who they do follow for that kind of information, stalk their comment section, see what kind of questions are being asked, because those are your people that you need to get in front of. But if you are not answering the questions that they have, then what are we doing here? What are we doing here? This leads me to the third question, which is the most important part of your brand strategy, is the positioning. What is my secret sauce? What is my secret sauce? What am I bringing that's unique to me? You'll hear some marketing, business, or branding experts call it a USP, your unique selling point. I call it the secret sauce, because it's only that there's only one you. So when you bring yourself into a product, even a product or service that's already being done, there's only one you. So that means that only you can do it like you. So that is the most important part. The fourth question is, what is my transformation? What is my offer? What is the transformation? Did you think through the offer, and does it make sense? Does it make sense? And here is where you start to get into the research of the offers, the products, the pricing, and just paying attention to what the market is already doing. What are people in your industry that's doing the same thing that you want to do? What are they already doing? How much are they charging? What is the range between the lowest and the highest? What seems to be the quality? What are they getting or not getting with said price point and price range? Because that's a big pain point for my clients typically, is they don't know how much to charge. Well, we tackle that in the brand strategy through the research to at least get you down to a range that you could kind of hang out in. The fifth question is centered around, what am I saying? That's your content strategy. What am I saying? And content is always such a big hurdle for my clients, but it's a necessary evil. We have to do it. You have to put yourself out there. I would recommend putting your best foot forward in the thing that you say that you are an expert in, the thing that you're supposed to have the most knowledge in. Talk about that. Talk about that. Show the behind the scenes. And more importantly, be authentic and be real. Don't worry about showing up perfect, because that's a mistake that a lot of people make. Oh, my background isn't perfect. I don't like the way my house looks. Coming up with all the reasons, like, I don't have a professional camera, I don't have a microphone, like, coming up with all the reasons why you can't do the content is what's holding you back. There's AI now, and I'm sure you're going to say, girl, I'm not tech savvy, I can't do that. Stop saying what you can't do and just try it. Just try it. And if you don't feel like you have the capacity to learn how to do it yourself, well, hire somebody. And that's the thing about entrepreneurs. You either have to master it on your own, you have to figure it out and learn it on your own, or you need to hire somebody. But you have to do one or the other, because it has to get done. So yes, so content is super important, and that's a big part of building your brand. So you have to have the foundation to start off with. Okay, so that leads me into the next question is, how do I sound when I'm saying it? So that's your brand voice and tone. Your brand should have a persona, meaning when people see the content, they should be able to immediately put that that's you. They should be able to identify that with you or with your business. I always recommend that whoever is going to be in the forefront of the business, that the brand should reflect more of that person's personality. So if it's the owner and you're like a solopreneur, it's going to be you. So you need to put your personality more into the voice and tone of the brand, because it's a lot easier to show up as you, authentic, being yourself, versus trying to put on an act, like press a button and now I'm this new polished, perfect, corporate sounding person. You don't need to code switch over here. You building your own lane, you're creating your own table, you're creating your own vibe, and it needs to coincide with who you are as a person. And then that leads me to the last question it needs to answer. Visually, how do I look while I'm doing it? So that's your visual brand. So your logo, your website, podcast covers, social media, templates, your color palette. Like, what are your visual brand guides? Your fonts, things like that. So all of those things go into creating your brand, so all of those things go into creating your brand and laying that foundation for yourself. The common misconceptions about building your brand is that a lot of people think that it only revolves around getting on the content creation hamster wheel and to just constantly keep creating content. That's not all that goes into building your brand. You also have to think about your sales. You got to think about your back end processes, your customer reviews, like your testimonies and stuff. What is your buying experience? What is the experience with your brand at all touch points? All of those things go into building your brand, not just the content that you create and how often you show up. That's a big part of it, but it's not the only part. There are four main things that you should be focusing on when you're trying to build your brand. Consistency is number one. David Shands always says that consistency is the only cheat code, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. You have to pick how you show up and how often you show up. Only you can do that. But even if you can't show up every day, show up as much as you can. Show up as much as you can. And I'm going to say at the minimum, you should be showing up 3 to 4 times a week. Really, if you can, if you're doing entrepreneurship every day, like full time, you should be showing up every day. But I get it. I get it. That could be a struggle. I don't prefer creating content. It's not the first thing that I enjoy doing about my business. I enjoy helping my clients. So I'm like, I got to stop working on projects that my paying clients are paying me to do to shoot content. And sometimes it's frustrating, but like I said, it's a necessary thing that I know that I have to do. And, after a while, I do enjoy doing the content. Anyway, the second thing is brand awareness, brand loyalty, and brand evolution. Now, let me say one quick thing about the evolution part. You should be growing as a business, as a person, and as you start to become a more mature and developed entrepreneur, so should your brand. Your brand should also be growing with you. As you learn more, your brand should also start to sound and move like you. And that's something that we often forget. But it's natural for your brand to evolve. And also, don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot if you need to. If something isn't working, then don't be afraid to say, you know what, let me try something else. All right, y'all. So that's it for today. I want to hear from you. Which one do you have trouble with? Do you have trouble with the foundation of your brand, or do you have trouble with the consistency part, like the showing up every day and like what to do, the actual evolution of your brand? Let me know which one in the comments. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't, if you're not locked in with us. And if you enjoyed this video, if you got any value from it at all, please hit the like button for me. I really appreciate it. All right. I'll see y'all next time.